Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, the powerful, the just, and peace and salutations be upon Sayyiduna Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the leader of the Mujahideen and the defender of the oppressed. It is my great pleasure to welcome you this evening on a very somber occasion tonight. And this is no ordinary broadcast as we speak to you this evening, courtesy of the airwaves of Salam Media, for a emergency mobilization, as we've called it this evening. In a very short period of time, this particular broadcast was arranged with the kind assistance of the Al-Quds Foundation South Africa, who have been hosting the Mahrajan of late, and a number of high-profile guests from Palestine or related to the Palestinian cause currently in South Africa. So with their kindness, we are able to feature some of our guests this evening. But beyond the guests that we are featuring, it's the topic that brings us here tonight to talk about what is the extermination of Northern Gaza. We've heard the word genocide for a long time, and genocide carries with it the connotations of extermination, of ethnic cleansing of an entire nation. And this is what has been occurring in Gaza for the entire year. But it is at this particular point no starker than what we find occurring in northern Gaza, in areas like Jabalia and surroundings, the kind of scenes that were aired by the likes of the brave Palestinian journalist Hussam Shabat, who reported that Israeli forces had attacked a school in Jabalia, forcing out the people sheltering there. They lined them up and shot anyone who dared to move. Any male over the age of 16 is being detained, tortured, and investigated. Many people who are being lined up are sick individuals, such as amputees, cancer patients, the young kids who are being asked to stand in line for hours, and an entire situation which is extremely catastrophic. Another of Gaza's valiant journalists and truth tellers, witnesses to a genocide, survivors thus far of a genocide, Suleiman Ahmed, shared the footage and images of a checkpoint that was installed in the Jabalia refugee camp, and many people trying to cross this particular checkpoint. Footage that he showed brought together images of people not moving forward and who didn't move forward, being targeted with drone and artillery fire. Even those who followed the orders were being attacked. A massacre, he said, is unfolding in northern Gaza with bodies in the street. And therefore, when we gather here this evening, courtesy of Salam Media, the United Ulama Council of South Africa, the Palestine Information Network, and the Al-Quds Foundation, what we are doing tonight is not an ordinary broadcast. It's a cry of distress, a piercing scream for help, a desperate shout for aid, a frantic wail of fear, a panicked yell of alarm, and a loud, frantic plea for help. This is a call that we make this evening, hoping to enliven our dead hearts as well as our bodies and beings as the Muslim Ummah, which has been in a state of inertia. We are bringing together honorable guests this evening, Dr. Ayman Zeidan of the Al-Quds Foundation, heading the office out in Turkey, Maulana Abdul Khaliq Allie of the United Ulama Council of South Africa. My name is Ibrahim Moosa from the Palestine Information Network, and it's our great pleasure to welcome then our first guest for this very urgent mobilization this evening, Dr. Khaled El-Awaisi, no stranger to South Africa, director of the Islamic Jerusalem Research Academy, joining us this evening from Cape Town. Dr. Khaled, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this emergency broadcast.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Maulana Ibrahim. It is, as you have said, a very difficult time, a very distressing time. For the past year, it's been like this, but now we are moving back to a very difficult position, not just in northern Gaza, in the whole of Gaza, people are getting to the stage where it is desperation. However, northern Gaza has exceeded all of this with the current in circulation and besiegement of northern Gaza beside the rest of Gaza. So it is a very difficult, very distressing times. And just looking at the state of the Ummah, 2 billion Muslims are unable to break this siege. It makes one extremely uh, heartbroken that for the past year that we have not been able to relieve Gaza, not militarily, not in terms of aid, uh, not in terms of anything politically to make a difference to what is happening. And this is what makes the Zionist occupier an aggressor even more blunt. From the 10th day when they attacked the hospital and killed 500 people, the world stayed silent and Israel transgressed. Then it attacked churches, hospitals, mosques. Uh, they said they will not go into Rafah when they do not find anyone stopping them. And the red lines are no longer red lines. They go beyond all of this and are able to, unfortunately, destroy and uh, kill with impunity. No one's able to stop them, unfortunately. And this is the state that we are in. And as you have said, this is an extermination of Gaza's northern part, particularly Jabalia. And the cries we hear from there are, there is no words to explain them. The world is deaf for the past year. And it seems that if this succeeds and they do exterminate northern Gaza, then the rest of Gaza will be just a matter of time. They'll take it slot by slot. And um, unfortunately, go beyond anything that is being done. And for this, Maulana Ibrahim, and to all your listeners, we need to be able to uh, do something that will change the uh, equation, change the balances in an action that will deter this Zionist state from taking further action. And within South Africa, there has to be a clear strategy to end this genocide, to end this slaughter, to end this extermination. And the steps that have been taken so far have not been enough, not by South Africa and not by anywhere else in the world. For this reason, uh, we need to rethink our strategy. We need to rethink how we should be going forward, ending the current genocide, the current extermination, the current ethnic cleansing, the current massacre. Wallah, there is no more words in the English language that describes what is going on. This is a live genocide that we are watching on our screens, and we are at a state that we are unable to take serious action to end this. I know South Africa has taken political steps to take Israel to the International Criminal Court. Uh, but this is a very important step. But this is not going to stop the Zionists from continuing. we need to rethink our strategies and be able to put an end to this genocide, a serious end to this genocide.
If you're just joining us, this is a very special, important emergency mobilization, and this is Stop the Extermination of Northern Gaza, particularly focusing our attention on what is going on in Jabalia and surroundings. We welcome all the viewers and the listeners on Salam Media in South Africa and around the world. Doctor, I want to set the tone correctly for what we are discussing here this evening, and it needs to be action oriented. And perhaps yourself and other guests at a certain point would share some of the accounts, building on what I've said, of the eyewitness details that we're getting from Gaza. Not that it's not known to many people, but we would share these obviously to hopefully spark greater action from our side. But set the framework in that this is not a new discussion, and we're not bringing new information to the table. This has we've spoken about. I mean, you have spoken in your seminars for years about the injustice in Palestine, even prior to October the 7th, in detail, and we cannot be sitting here on the 21st of October 2024, talking about Palestine like it's business as normal, just saying that we need to lobby the powers, we need to share information, we need to learn more. I think the days of some of those discussion points have moved on. So if we are sitting here today, what would you hope that this small discussion that we have here this evening at least sparks, or produces, even without the solutions? We'll come to that a bit later in terms of the strategy. But what should we be sitting, listening, viewing this discussion through which kind of lens?
Yes, I think we need to take this more personal. And what I mean by take it more personal, over the last few days, I gave an example of my cousin. She studied in Turkey. She finished her PhD, and about 14 months ago, she returned back to Gaza. And just before the 7th of October last year, she had to leave Gaza to pick up her PhD certificate from Turkey, from Konya. And she had to leave her children behind because it was going to be a very quick visit. So she came all the way to Turkey, and the 7th of October started, and she could not return back to Gaza. And her children were stuck in the middle of Gaza. And she would not sleep for 4 months until she was reunited with her children. And if every single one of us thinks of what is happening in Gaza as a personal matter, and to think about it as a personal matter, then you will start coming up with solutions. They tried everything. They contacted the Turkish government, they contacted the Egyptian government, they put pressure until they managed to get their children out. And the way of getting the children out was so difficult. They wouldn't allow their grandmother to live with them, or their grandfather. So the children had to cross the border on their own in the company of another family from Gaza. You will come up, there is nothing impossible. You will come up with a solution. You will do everything that is in your power to make sure that it is implemented. And I think in this context, we have to make this personal. We have to turn this issue into a lens that, and to put this in the context, Maulana Ibrahim, we need to remember that the people in Gaza are doing this on behalf of the Ummah. The people in Gaza fighting there are not fighting for Gaza. They were actually defending you in South Africa. They're defending Al Masjid Al Aqsa. This is the flood of Al Aqsa. And we are sitting on a mountain from a distance, watching, exactly like what the son of Nuh alayhi salam said to his father when the flood started. He said, I will go to a mountain and watch you from above. And this is the situation of 2 billion Muslims sitting, watching what is happening in Gaza, and sometimes we deceive ourselves. And after a year of the flood of Al-Aqsa, it is not time to emotionally get people to be connected with this issue. It is time for reaccounting, seeing what have we done, where have we failed, and what more we need to do towards this particular matter. And on this matter, the Ummah has failed Gaza. The world has failed Gaza. And I'll give you two examples of people who haven't failed Gaza, but see that they have failed Gaza. One of them is a non Muslim doctor, Dr. Mads Gilbert. On the first day of the 7th of October, he took steps and he went directly to Rafah and he entered Gaza before the border was closed and spent all the time there under the bombardment in trying to protect the people of Gaza as they dealing with them. And when I met him a few months later in Istanbul, he told me, Khalid, we have failed Gaza. And this is someone who hasn't done 100%. He has gone beyond that, and he has done beyond what we have achieved for Gaza as a doctor. The other one is Dr. Hassan Abu Sitta. There are many, many examples of people who personally try to do this. But I think we need to move away from because as at a personal level, this is seems to be just putting a band-aid on a large wound, and we see the governments aren't achieving anything, and this takes us in between. We have to do collective work to break the siege of Gaza from day one. We should have not allowed this to continue. And seeing the way the Zionists work is that they keep pushing the line. So they push the line and then they push it further and they push it further. And we have experienced this, as you have mentioned. This is not the first time this is happening, but this is the worst time. In the Nakba in 1948, the Nakba was a great catastrophe. But what is happening today in Gaza is the Nakba being multiplied. The Nakba happened between 1947 and 1949. It didn't happen over one day, as many people think. It was a period of 3 years. And it was an ethnic cleansing process. And within this process, the amount of people that were displaced were actually displaced in Gaza within the first few months of this genocide. And I think we need to move beyond that. And I think we need to push ourselves to come up with solutions collectively to try to end this genocide. I know it seems to be sometimes impossible, but in the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. And 2 billion people today in the Ummah are unable to take a glass of water into Gaza without the Zionist permission. This is how pathetic the Ummah has become. And this actually is not sad, but this is pathetic. The Prophet ﷺ did not raise the Ummah to be this pathetic. The Prophet ﷺ raised an ummah of honor that would not sleep the night if one part of the body was in pain. And it seems that we are willing, and I like this yesterday at one of the masajid here in Cape Town. After we spoke, one person came up to me and he said to me, if I see two people outside the mosque and one being robbed, I will not say to him, oh, okay, I'll go into the mosque and make dua for you. He does not want me to make dua for him at that point. He wants me to come and stop the person making the robbery. And I think, wallahi, his words are spot on. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I didn't even remember his name, but he was exactly spot on. This is what we are. I'll make dua for you. Okay, I'll give you some money after you've been robbed. I'll buy you some food after. This is not a solution. And in the words of Professor um, Professor was with us at the conference. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. لا لا الجنوب افريقي. Professor Farid. Uh, he said something, actually an amazing analogy about children coming down a water stream from a mountain, and let's say Mother Teresa or someone doing charity to deal with these children coming down the stream. The problem is with the person at the top of the mountain throwing them into the stream. This analogy, we need to deal with the problem. We need to deal with the head of the snake. And no one is wanting to deal with that. No one
Hmm.
seems to have the courage to challenge Zionism. And I think each one of us needs to challenge Zionism at a personal and at a collective level. And I think in that, the issue of aid into Gaza, we need to challenge them and take the aid whether they like it or not. We don't need to seek their permission. And I think this, we need, after a year of this genocide, we need to take the aid on ships, even if we are martyred. The genocide will not stop without us paying a price for it. I'm talking about aid because most of the people have just been raising money for this. The dua without practical dua, which is action, Allah will not accept it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you look at his example in Badr, he didn't sit back and relax and just raise his hands to Allah, Ya Allah, help us in Badr. What Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did is he prepared everything and then took the steps towards this. Without doing this, it is impossible, and the Ummah is not doing the groundwork for us to be able, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our dua. It is, wallah, it is, as one of the scholars says, wallah, enough of talking. We've been talking for a whole year. Without serious action that will change the balances of this equation, we will not be able to go further. It will get worse and worse. And today, if Gaza falls, we said this from day one, and Gaza hasn't fallen. Wallahi, Gaza not falling is a miracle. People, when I speak to my aunts in Gaza, uh, water, food, drink is very scarce. But they don't want to die with a full stomach. They want to die with honor, and that is the difference. And you see, the leaders of the resistance are on the forefront, and this needs to change for us, and we need to change our strategy towards this matter.
Doctor, just a few final thoughts, and obviously we standing by as well. Who is with you, Dr. Ayman Zeidan of the Al-Quds Foundation, will speak to us also in a bit. There are some inconvenient truths that perhaps we would need to hear, and because this is a session of introspection, it's a session of action. Perhaps we need to hear some of those inconvenient truths. Perhaps if you could, talk to us about, there's a concern raised that everybody, would wear Palestinian colors, everybody would wear the flag, wave the flag. It's kind of become a cultural, something festive, something cultural, and sometimes in the process, we would see a kind of tone deafness to what is going on in Gaza, our lifestyles, and the way our expenditure, the way we consume, doesn't seem to be cognizant. I'm not talking about boycotts. I think many people have heeded that call, but beyond boycotts, a general lifestyle change has not occurred. That's one, if you could comment on. Another comment relating to the role of the masajid. There's still a big cry that many masajid are not living up to the what's required of them, when they should be the main mobilizing centers at this particular time. So if you could comment on those two, and the last point relating to the call that has come out from Gaza, particularly regarding the embassies, surround the embassies, or there's been a hashtag to that regard. Particularly, how do you feel that should span itself out?
Thank you very much. These are three loaded questions, and difficult to answer them within, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. I think we have normalized the genocide in Gaza, and we have become, uh, life goes on, and we should not stop. Remember that, and I would like to put this into another perspective. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive today, his Sahaba would be the people of Gaza. Their iman, their strength. This is something that we only read in the books of history about the greatness of the Sahaba, tying stones to their stomachs. We thought these were fairy tales that the Sahaba lived. Today, the people are in Gaza, their steadfastness, their sumud, their thabat, their resilience is something beyond anything that I lived in Palestine, and I've seen this during the first Intifada. I've seen this during the other wars, but this is even speaking to my aunts in previous wars and speaking to them in this after the 7th of October. The 7th of October gave people a gleam of hope that the Zionist project can be defeated. And the Ummah has not lived up to this. And I think at the beginning we were looking at the pictures, trying to see what is going on. But now we are at a stage where we normalize it and we do not want to look at what is happening in Gaza. Wallahi, I force, yani, to give you a personal example, my son 2 weeks ago fell in the park and he broke his nose. He's 8 years old. The ambulance was there within 6 minutes, took him to hospital, did everything, and they wanted to do an operation, and he was in fear, so we didn't do it. When we went back home, I opened my mobile. He was looking with me at the pictures of Gaza, and he saw a child his age, his leg broken, his arm broken, and his chin broken, and the child was in a lot of pain. And my son said to me, "Dad, you can take me back to hospital. Let them do the operation without anesthetic." This is an 8-year-old feeling for the people of Gaza. We should not turn our eyes. This is not the time for Abdul Basar, for lowering your gaze. And a lot of the people do not want to look at these images. And I think we need to force ourselves. If this was your child, sometimes, wallahi, I feel shy hugging my 1-year-old child or 8-year-old child, because a father in Gaza has his children in a plastic bag. I feel, and the food in front of me, I feel, how can I eat? And my aunt is starving, eating a bite a day. Uh, Life needs to go on. You need to eat to keep yourself strong. But sometimes we go beyond that and we forget what is happening, and we have normalized this death because it has gone on for too long. And the people of Gaza have just become numbers. Wallahi, the pain, and I force myself to listen to them crying, listening to them. They stopped pleading for the Ummah. They used to plead for the Ummah and say, "Where are you? Where are you?" They got to a stage where they have given up on me and you. And wallahi, I feel ashamed to call my aunts in Gaza, because there is no more words I can say that will, instead of me comforting them every time I call, they are the ones that are comforting us. And they are the ones that saying, "Wallahi, we will not give up. We will stay steadfast." And just seeing the leaders fighting on the front line, I think that gives them a boost beyond anything, that their blood is no more valuable than the others. So, on the first point, I think we should not normalize this. Every time you see a picture in Gaza, see it for the first time and look at it and feel that this is your mother that is crying. Wallahi, you will change everything. The way you see things will change. If this was your mother in Gaza, and I gave the example of my cousin who her children were in Gaza, wallahi, she lost so much weight. She became very pale. Her children, she'd want to reach them in any way, any moment. If this was your own child, to the mothers and the fathers I'm addressing. If this, every time you see a child in Gaza, this could have been your child. If it was, and this is pleading to your iman. I told you if today Rasulullah was alive, his Sahaba would be in Gaza. If you were alive when Rasulullah was in Sha'b Abi Talib for 3 years, how would you have broken the siege? Would you have not gone beyond 100%? Would you have gone beyond your capabilities to make sure that the food is smuggled to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was in Sha'b Abi Talib? Or would you say, well, they're not allowing it in, I have nothing else to do? Would you not have gone beyond that? Wallahi, the people of Gaza, they deserve this because they are defending your honor. The Qibla of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they're not doing it for Gaza. They called it Tufan al-Aqsa, so they're doing it for Al-Aqsa. As you mentioned, the people are, alhamdulillah, for the first time, actually, I'm very impressed of the effectiveness of the boycott. But to me, the boycott is not about an economic punishment to the occupation and those who support them. To me, boycott is about awareness. And you are raising a new generation that will never accept to be complicit in a genocide. Today, our silence is complicity. And this is very difficult to say. And sometimes you have to shout this out loud to make sure that you are not within those who are allowing the genocide to continue, and you have done everything in your power. The last point, can you remind me, Maulana Ibrahim?
Yeah, so I had mentioned the role of the masjids, however,
Yeah,
whether you'd like to engage with that or not, and the
no,
call
no,
to
yes,
surround the embassies.
yes, yes. Actually, the masjids have failed the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We celebrated just not long ago Mawlidun Nabi. Rasulullah does not want you to celebrate his birthday or his Mi'raj. He wants you to take action towards it. And that is the difference. By honoring the Masra of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and this applies to all the madhahib. All the madhahib have ijma on this particular issue. Rasulullah, for 70 Sahaba that were killed in Bi'r Ma'una, made for 40 days dua in every single salah before the last sujood. He would stand up and make qunut. You know the dua, you don't know the dua, you don't know what to say. Wallahi, just raise your hands and say, Allahumma ansur al-Islam wal Muslimin. Wa alayka bis-sahaynat al-mu'tadin. Just at least in every salah, you have not forgotten Gaza. And this is the responsibilities of the imams. And they have to really take action towards this. And the last speech of Abu Ubaidah, he really well and this attack on the ulama was very particular because al-ulama warathatul anbiya, you are the inheritors of the prophets. You should be leading the ummah. And if you are an imam and you do not follow the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at a time of calamity, what are you waiting for then? Every khutbah, a dua for al-Masjid al-Aqsa has to be included. Every prayer, a dua for al-Masjid al-Aqsa and for the people of Gaza has to be done. It has to be on our agenda 24/7. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam taught us this, and Rasulullah every night he would read Surah Al-Isra and mention the name of al-Masjid al-Aqsa. At least revive this in the community, that the law or the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Maybe it will take another generation before we liberate the Masjid al-Aqsa, or it can be done within the Tufan. But it depends on you and me. And I'm here addressing the imams in the masajid. If you do not take action and lead the people towards this, then no one will lead them. And the ulama are the ones, and the imams are the ones that need to do this. The last one is this is the people of Gaza under the siege and under the bombardment and under the genocide fighting on the front line, trying to find solution for you and me. Wallahi, this is we need to come with innovative solutions. They are asking us, besiege their embassies, do not allow them in South Africa. How many industries and factories that still make bombs and weapons that are sent to Israel? In the United Kingdom, many of these factories have been closed down. Why are they still open in South Africa? Everyone, do not throw the bucket on the next person. Ask yourself, what can I do within South Africa? Al-Bayt has a factory here in South Africa. Why is it still open? This needs to be closed. The embassies, the complicity of the American government is undeniable. The complicity is openly clear. And this needs to be besieged. Wallahi, if we besiege them maybe in the first week and stop their business for a week, then maybe this genocide wouldn't have continued. If we did this maybe in 10 countries or 5 countries or 50 countries, maybe this would change. The people in Gaza are pleading to you out of desperation for solutions. They are giving you solutions, but you know, Rasulullah says, Ahlu Mecca adra bi-sha'abiha. The people of Mecca know their alleyways better than anyone else. And the people of South Africa, Maulana Ibrahim, you know the situation here better than me and better than the people in Gaza. And we need to come up with a clear strategy for the end of any complicity or silence towards this matter, because our silence is complicity. Our ineffectiveness is also complicity.
Mhm.
Our normalization of this is also complicity. We cannot let this continue. We need to put an end to this.
Dr. Khalid Al-Awaisi, some very important, pertinent points which we hope have hit home hard this evening. We are very pleased to be connecting with you this evening, and more so knowing that you are very much in South Africa itself. It brings great pleasure to know that we've been able to speak to you in this way. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and Assalamu alaikum wa
Thank you.
rahmatullahi wa
Wa
barakatuh.
alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. It's been my pleasure. Jazakallah.
Dr. Khalid Al-Awaisi, Director of the Islamic Jerusalem Research Academy, and he was here in South Africa courtesy of the Al-Quds Foundation, who held a mahrajan over the weekend at the Castle of Good Hope in Cape Town. With Dr. Khalid, we cross over now to Dr. Ayman Zeidan, who is from the Al-Quds Foundation itself, based in Turkey, and we reinforce the message this evening and also get additional guidance from him this evening. Dr. Ayman is with Dr. Khalid Al-Awaisi out in Cape Town, and we are hoping to connect to him any moment soon. We also are going to be hearing from Maulana Abdul Khaliq Ali, the president of the United Ulama Council of South Africa, who's also played an important role in this particular broadcast. Some of the, I appreciate all the messages that are coming through as well, the engagement. The guests obviously are not able to see all of these messages sometimes in real time because of where they are speaking to us from, but they would engage with the comments via the YouTube stream thereafter. Dr. Ayman Zeidan with us as well this evening from Cape Town here in South Africa is from the Al-Quds Foundation. Dr. Ayman, shukran jazilan for joining us on this very important emergency mobilization, Stop the Extermination of Northern Gaza broadcast this evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Many people might be just tuning into this broadcast this evening, and it's all about urgency, it's all about action, it's all about solutions, and not so much about information. But for anybody joining us right now, just give us an idea from the reports and your network on the ground, Dr. Ayman, of just how serious is the situation in northern Gaza, some of the scenes that you've heard of today, and what are the pleas from the people in northern Gaza today, Doctor?
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you for this program. Actually, I want to jump over that. We are all fed up of diagnosis. We are all freedom about numbers because it should mean to us. If we keep repeating that, and if it is not meaningful to us, this is a major problem. We are stuck in a square of being paralyzed, and we are here in a call of action. So I believe if we want to confront this situation, we have to have different approach. Yes, we are all angry. If we don't need to express our anger, because sometimes if we shout a lot, nobody can hear us. Here we have to this get together. We have to come out with something not redundant. 3 pages. It should be a plan for us that we have to stop this genocide. We have to stop this extermination. Yes, we can do it if we work effectively. This is a question actually that we have to answer, and we have to hold ourselves or keep our picture in front of ourselves. Do we bear an answer for this or not? I believe as a Muslim Ummah and as institutions, Dr. Khaled said, let us make it personal. Yes, we want to make it personal because in Karo Munkar first, it has to start in the heart. But we have to be effective. We have to make it institutional, and we have to communicate it efficiently to the other organization. What I believe, if we want to make a call for action, the first we have to believe that we can stop it. Yes, we can, to raise this slogan. And the key is immediacy. And the key that we have to rush, تفروا إلى الله, rush to Allah. What is happening in Gaza needs us to rush to work effectively and efficiently. Our plan of action to stop this genocide and extermination, it has to be doing something extraordinary for something extraordinary taking place on the ground. I believe we need a steering committee, and we need to have a plan of action to speak to the ulama, to speak to the politicians and leaders of parties, to all the stakeholders that we shortlist. And from tomorrow, we have to start an action. Yes, we have to besiege the embassies and surround them. Ulama should move. We should go in ships, in demonstration. Something not normal and not what everyday work. What is happening in Gaza is something a shame for all of us as Muslims. So, my dear brother, really, I don't want to go in diagnosis. Yes, we have read a report from the organization on the ground about what is taking place in Jabalia. It could be a tool for us to move with the media, to move with the people, but we have to have a plan of action that unlock our عجز. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال اللهم إني أعوذ بك من العجز والكسل. And another Sayyidina Umar said أعوذ بك من جلد الفاجر وعجز الثقة. We have here the fierce and the hostile and of Al-Fajr, Netanyahu, the crazy Netanyahu, all this mischief is happening. But at the other side, the one who should stop this genocide is paralyzed. This matrix of we should build it together. We should work on it together. Al-Iqtidar, which is the opposite of ajz. So that is the power that we work very hard to go to action. This is my message, brother, to you all. I really request you to go to let us stop talking much and build the hope is hopeless if it is not connected to amal, to work. So no time to wait. We have to draw a plan of action which should not be much. We can speak to Sheikh Al-Quradaghi. We can speak to. We need 100 ulama to join us. We need 100 politicians to join us. We need ships to go on the sea to break the siege on Gaza. We can draft some 10 ideas, even 10 ideas are too much, 5, 6 ideas, effective ideas, inputs, which can change the situation that is taking place. If we list these 10 ideas and we start working on that, I think we can be efficient. But mourning and crying and sitting that we what we no no this is not the time to when we are sitting here a kind of leadership meeting. We should work to come up with a plan, a real plan, effective plan. I was today discussing with the scholars here. Sorry to say, to mention Jordan. What happened in Jordan? The two youngsters, they attacked the borders of Jordan and they injured 2 soldiers. And it is like a bucket of water was thrown on the ground. And sorry to say, I don't want to accuse our brothers in Jordan. And the leadership could not even swim in a bucket of water. They drowned. They could not tackle that situation. And that is very painful. I was begging them, some of the senior leaders of Haraka Islamiyya, to set the tone, to celebrate this work, and they were paralyzed. It was really frustrating for me. And again, when they issued a statement, the statement was even frustrating for all the youth of Jordan who are boiling. They didn't mobilize them. They are out of the basket of the Haraka Islamiyya. They are out of the basket of the government. They have to act on their own. That what Dr. Khaled, yes, personal, because the entities, the institution, the Harakat al-Islamiyya, the Hayat Ulama'iyya are not up to the challenge. We have to put them in their picture. We have to talk to them, to call the leaders and the heads. This is your responsibility. We want you from tomorrow to do 1, 2, 3. Do you want to do it or not? We want to move together to the embassies. We want to move to get to. We have to make a hunger strike. I don't. The ideas will come. We have experts in advocacy and mobilization. We need 3 pages of action plan. It could be an input or our expert and strategic thinkers. They say, if we do this, this will change the situation. Then the next, we need a steering committee to, at the heart of action plan, an effective communication plan with all the stakeholders. And the key is immediacy, the key that we can be efficient, impeccable, and we can change the situation. And this is my message without much more details.
Indeed. So, Doctor, just to tease that out, 1 or 2 more questions. From this, the streamlined plan that you are proposing, how does that differ? I mean, there are many people, many serious engagements, and the level of engagement has been much better and much more urgent over this 1 year. And people have even seen successes in certain countries. So from whatever has existed and whatever has worked, how does your plan, how is your plan, what you're suggesting, different from that, or how does it piggyback, how does it draw on the successes of all these various groups and constituencies who've done work over this past year?
Well, much has flown under the bridge, and the people did good job when it came to relief and fundraising and even demonstrations in the West and the narrative. But now we have a critical situation today. That is extermination. That is killing and burning the people in Jabalia. Yes, we have to be up to the moment. Okay, we have to communicate not in a normal way. We are not. This is not fardu kifaya. This is an fardu ain. The fardu ain. If somebody is not doing that, it will expand to the others. Okay, so I believe we as experts, leaders, activists, okay, we can really be a good change agent, and we can build on the success that took place. I'm not fond of blaming ourselves and self-hitting ourselves that we cannot do anything. Yes, we can do a lot, but we have to work together. And I think we are this situation in Jabalia. If we start moving from tomorrow, I believe we can do something good. Let us start with surrounding the embassies. Let us start with talking to ulama and discuss with them what we can do. Let us start of thinking of ideas like to go in the seas, coffins, march, whatever it may be. We can do something, a coalition, international coalition to save Jabalia. This plan of action, it has to be in place. Then we'll start working together.
And lastly, Doctor, a lot of the focus in terms of whether it's boycott, economic mobilization, diplomatic seizure of ties has been directed at the Israeli entity itself. Are you suggesting that this needs to be, the pillars that hold up global Zionism run much deeper? In part of the strategy, are you suggesting that we go much deeper than what has currently been targeted, the limited scope of targeting over the past year?
Yeah, we do have to scale up our work. We still have some more job to do. Okay, we need to isolate this regime. We need to evaluate our work in the past, because it is 1 year being on this genocide. So we need to think deeply how to move forward, because it is continuing and it is expanding in Lebanon, and it may go to other places as well. So this is very much in need. I understand this is not a big meeting. It's not lecturing the people. We have to think of ideas that should be effective and efficient to stop the genocide and extermination in Jabalia.
Thank you so much for that and the very urgent, fresh approach that's required, the type of thinking that's required in such an urgent crisis, matching up with the title of this discussion, which is an emergency mobilization to stop the extermination in Northern Gaza. Dr. Ayman Zeidan, Al-Quds Foundation, I thank you so much for joining us here this evening. Barakallahu feek and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you.
If you've just joined us, we kind of in the final leg of what has been a very important session this evening, a call to action that has broadcast here on Salam Media. Guests of the Al-Quds Foundation currently here in South Africa, Dr. Khaled El-Awaisi, Dr. Ayman Zeidan, and it's also co-sponsored here this evening by the Palestine Information Network and the United Ulama Council of South Africa. We do appreciate all your feedback and hope that the sense of urgency, the ideas that are being thrown out do physically manifest into the kind of urgent discussions and freshness of approach that the guests have been advocating for this evening. And it would be valuable to take notes from this, as well as direct ourselves in the ways that we have been gestured to by our guests here this evening. Just some of the quotes, we had earlier on, the kind of suggestions that have been put forward by Dr. Khaled El-Awaisi. We have a quote here I want to share with you by Jihad Abu Salim, who says that the priority now is to stop the genocide. And we could say that was always the priority. Now we're talking about a serious level of escalation in Jabalia and the northern parts of the Gaza Strip. We know what the plan is in terms of the general's plan. We've seen how they are working towards this plan. We've seen the settlers on the other side of Gaza who actually gathered over the weekend and set up their tents and said that it's just a matter of time before we cross that frontier to establish settlements in Gaza. So Jihad Abu Salim says, support our people in the Gaza Strip. Every person in his or her position bears the responsibility to applying pressure to stop the genocide by any means available, including words. There is no time for crying, nor for exchanging blame, nor for outbidding. Think about what you say and do these days and ask yourself if it will satisfy your conscience. years from now. Mulana Abdul Khaliq, Ibrahim Ali, the President of the United Ulama Council of South Africa, now joining us here on the line. Mulana, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and shukran for joining us for the final stretch and basically to tie the dots together and give us some sort of roadmap going forward based on the very serious input that we've received from our guests. Mullah, if you could just unmute yourself.
My apologies. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem amma ba'd. I would like to thank yourself, Hafidh Maulana Ibrahim Moosa, for facilitating this very critical and urgent discussion and to draw our attention to the plan of action. One is a personal responsibility, and Dr. Khaled was very, very clear to say each and every single person must identify with this genocide and the killing and murder of a baby, a child, of a woman, that to be his mother, that to be her son and daughter. When we are going to create a restlessness, we must create a restlessness in ourselves, that I cannot be normalizing the killing and the murder and the genocide. It must create a boiling in me to say that I have a duty and a responsibility beyond talk. We need to walk the talk. So that is one of the first things that I think what should happen is personalize the genocide that is happening right now in Jabalia. Number two, because we are on haqq, we are on truth, we are the standing with the oppressed people. We know that we have Allah on our side, and hence we need to mobilize. Earlier on, one of our guests mentioned about the arms sales in South Africa. Is it happening? Yes, it is happening. We need to go to these particular steps and take those particular steps. Likewise, with references to the embassy, it is a matter that you raised earlier on in our previous discussion to say, how are we going to mobilize towards the embassy? And when I had the discussion with our Honorable Amir Sheikh Ibrahim Jibril, Sheikh Ibrahim felt immediately it is something that we need to do. I mean, if the people in Gaza are faced with a genocide, they are going the extra mile on behalf of the Ummah, then equally I need to go the extra mile in defense of the people of Gaza. Likewise, Dr. Ayman was speaking about institutionalize and to have an effective plan of action. That steering committee, I would want to suggest by tomorrow we need to have a national strategy that is inclusive of ulama, of people who stands very loud and clear in solidarity with the people in Gaza. And by tomorrow evening, inshallah Aziz, we must have our strategy in place and in order. You know, the reality of the situation is that the Zionists, they are so bold and they are so arrogant that despite the fact that they are the oppressor, the occupier, they seems to be wanting to be appeared to be the victim. And that victim mentality has to be shifted from where the focuses are on them, but rather the focus should be on the people of Gaza. It is a very, very devastating scenarios, or it is devastating seeing those particular videos and pictures that's coming through, and therefore it in our strategy meeting, Maulana Ibrahim Moosa, that we should be able to put together, we must be able to draw in our own media, and for social media, mainstream media, so that the words can be spread across the length and the breadth of our continent, in the world, and so that we must be able to say to the people in Jabalia, in northern Gaza, you are not alone. We are hearing you. But obviously what we are doing is not sufficient. It can never be sufficient. But at the least, what we are doing here this evening is to mobilize and to be saying to our viewers here this evening, let's stand up, let's rise, let's be able to rally and be able to come together as a people in South Africa. Sometimes I feel that we feel so contented by the fact that, and we are complimented, that South Africa has taken the Zionist apartheid state to the ICJ. The reality of the situation is it has not stopped the killing. It has not stopped the murder. So where are we in terms of this particular process? How should we be able to be addressing it? And therefore, it calls upon the legal minds in our community and society to be saying, we need to rally. It is a brother and sister of ours that has been killed and murdered. And I think Dr. Khaled Al-Awaisi gave the example of somebody being robbed. And we're seeing the robber and we are not stopping him. We are not preventing him. We are not using the mobilization of power to stop and prevent him from doing what he's doing. And so, to all of our people that have who has tuned into this particular program, keep us to account. As a leadership, keep us to account and be able to say, what next? How much more? Where are we going to be mobilizing? What are the mobilizing strategies that you're going to come up? And it requires a collective approach from each and every sector of our community and society. And it starts, as I said right in the beginning, by taking it personally upon ourselves. And let us start by doing something this evening, tonight. Let us engage in some tilawatul Quran. Let us engage in dua and add to that and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help and guide us towards some form of action that must be intensified in the next 24 hours, inshallah.
Inshallah, Amra, we thank you for that. On the back of the consolidation of the different viewpoints that you've put through together. We've spoken about the embassies. There is a need as well to look at South Africans who still, they cannot be called South Africans if they are serving in the Israeli army the way that they are and committing these genocidal crimes. But there's, the concern that we've received over the past week of Aaron Bayak, who was a member of the Israeli army operating in Gaza, and he's a sniper in this elite Israeli unit that has killed unarmed civilians in Gaza, crisscrossing in and out of South Africa. We need to, ask serious questions about that and also monitor that particular space. There's the call that's coming from a number of civil society organizations relating to coal that South Africa produces that continues to fuel the genocide, as they've called. That area needs to be monitored as well. And Murana, relating to the spiritual side, before we let you go this evening, once again, I mean, there can be nothing as dire in this genocide as the scenes that we are seeing here. They've been repeated in many areas. Yes, we've seen what has happened at hospitals before, men that were gathered and then men that were taken to the Teiman concentration camp within occupied Palestine 1948. We've seen those scenes before, but this is the last stand in Gaza, and this is if this fails, then the Israelis would not only run riot over Gaza, but run riot over the rest of the Muslim world, perhaps. And therefore, if there was a time for us to be reciting the Qunut and Nasila, it would be now. If you just want to, emphasize that point once again, because we've had fluctuations. Maybe people were running strong with certain du'as and spiritual practices at the beginning, and we've kind of let steam off in recent weeks and months.
So our appeal to our imams and our mashayikh and all of our leaders in our community at our masajid, the call is, and I recollect the words of our president of the Muslim Judicial Council, Sheikh Riyad Fatar, every single waqt, or during the waqt of Salatul Maghrib and Isha, when he's at his masjid, he makes the qunut. And likewise, the qunut is to draw the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It gives a sense of duty and responsibility to the imam and to the community and congregation to be making the dua that calls upon Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala for help on the one hand, and on the other hand to call on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to stand up against the Zionist entity and the oppressor, and that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala must defeat this enemy. And so our appeal here this evening, it is a dire situation. It is not now a position where we should be going into do we, don't we, but rather when we look at what is coming out from Jabalia and Northern Gaza, and obviously across Gaza, and likewise in terms of the West Bank and what is happening in Beirut and Lebanon, then it demands upon us action. Earlier on, one of our colleagues, Dr. Ayman, was speaking about one is fardi ain and one is fardi kifaya. There is almost a cry by some of the ulama to be saying it has now become a personal responsibility to stand up and for you to take action. And likewise, I would like to appeal to our imams that let us continue making the qunut nazila, seek from Allah and ask from Allah and beg from Allah and cry to Allah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must bring ease to the plight of the people of Gaza, across Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, and those who are facing the tyranny of the Zionist entity that holds not back any form of murder and killing of the babies and the innocent civilians. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must accept this noble effort here, and for the mobilization to become a reality so that we can be able to put a plan of action in motion, inshallah Aziz, so that we can, on the day of Qiyamah, Allah is going to ask us, Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak has been violated seriously at this moment in time. We are seeing scenes taking place in Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak that we have not seen in our lifetime. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyul azim. And so Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, so many times the rulers of the world to speak about crossing the red line. The red line has been crossed. There's no further red line. It is a moment where each and every single one of us must be able to stand up and see and identify our duty and our responsibility as a ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Jazakumullah khairan, Maulana Abdul Khaliq Ibrahim Ali, the President of the United Ulama Council of South Africa. Shukran for your time this evening and the participation of UUCSA as well in this forum this evening. We'd like to thank the Palestine Information Network and especially the Al-Quds Foundation of South Africa, who have been very instrumental in bringing so many high-powered guests to South Africa for their Mahrajan and sharing them with us for this important emergency mobilization this evening. In particular, we'd also be very grateful to Salam Media, which has been playing a sterling job in conveying the voices of Palestinians and particularly the journalists who are the voices of Gaza to the world. To that regard, as you see up on your screen, we know that Salam Media will be hosting the Hamza Shalan tour to South Africa, and this is a journalist and content creator from Gaza supporting the journalists of Gaza and the families of journalists in Gaza. And the tour would be visiting the likes of Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, Mafeking, Bloemfontein, Port Elizabeth, Durban, and other towns. This is a storyteller seeing Gaza through the lens of a survivor of this genocide. We do encourage you to interact with Salam Media and also be part of the programs that will be part of this particular tour. We do ask you to very positively and urgently interact and process the ideas that have been put forward in this session and have the necessary meetings and planning sessions to be able to implement some kind of very cohesive strategy, even with immediate goals, to be able to deal with stopping what is happening in Jabalia as a first step, then to obviously move forward to liberate Masjid al-Aqsa and dismantle Zionism and all the bigger goals that certainly need to be achieved for a cohesive and sustainable peace to be achieved in Palestine and the land of Beit al-Maqdis. So please do interact with these ideas and the partners who have been behind this program, so that we are able to form something different and something innovative to deal with the most serious challenges of the time. The writer Adham Sharqawi says, if others stop, you do not stop. If others slacken, you do not slacken. Write about Gaza as if you are the only one who has to document the blood of its people. Cry for them as if you hadn't cried for them, no funeral would have been held for them. Show Allah your excuse. For every person who does not do what he can has let the people of Gaza down. And to end on a spiritual note, the hadith of the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where the Prophet ﷺ said that the dua of Dhunnun, the Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, when he supplicated while in the belly of the whale, was La ilaha illa anta subhanak inni kuntu min al-zalimin, that there is none worthy of worship except you. Glory be to you. Indeed, I have been of the transgressors. And the Nabi of Allah said, after narrating the dua of Dhunnun, the Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, indeed no Muslim supplicates with it, this particular dua, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to him. This was when a Nabi, a favored servant of Allah, was within the belly of the fish. And here we have the chosen servants of the Ummah, the people of Ribat, the people of Sumud, who are in the belly of the beast, surrounded in Jabalia, surrounded in Gaza this evening. We recite and they recite, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin, inna kunna min al-zalimin, that, oh Allah, there is none worthy of worship except you. Glory to you, be to you. Indeed, we have been of the transgressors, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taken Dhunnun out of this very difficult and tight situation and predicament. We ask Allah to be able to take our brothers in Gaza, particularly the north of Gaza, this evening, out of this very severe siege that they find themselves this evening. The dua of the Nabi of Allah at Badr, where the Nabi of Allah said, Allahumma anjiz li ma wa'adtani, Allahumma ati ma wa'adtani, Allahumma in tahlik hadha al-isabah min ahli al-Islam, la tu'bad fil ard. O Allah, accomplish for me what you have promised to me. O Allah, bring about that which you have promised to me. O Allah, if this small band of Muslims is destroyed, thou will not be worshipped on this earth. We say, O Allah, if this small band of Muslims is destroyed, Gaza might be taken over, and the front line of defenders of Masjid al-Aqsa will be there no more. O Allah, you protect them and you allow them to emerge victorious despite all the doors having closed on them. From myself, Ibrahim Moosa, the rest of the team, as well as the broadcaster Salam Media, till we take this discussion forward, we pray for a free Palestine and the end of the tribulations and genocide in Gaza. Fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast this evening.
We are here in the middle of a Zahra neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is already destroyed. More than 17 towers are down. Here, as you can see, the firefighters trying their best to help. The people are still under the rubble. A lot of the people.
Join Hamza on his exclusive South African tour as he shares his personal experiences, never before seen footage, and powerful insights on the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is more than just a talk. It's an invitation to witness Gaza through the lens of Hamza Sha'alan. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the photojournalist who brought Gaza's pain and perseverance to the world in its darkest moments. Follow Salam Media on social media pages for more on this tour and be part of the conversation.